Well, hello, everyone. God bless you. Thank you for joining the broadcast. We're going to go into a place today that I think is really powerful because I think it's going to help us to understand how to get into the place of faith and show us the hindrance to our faith as well. And then we can absolutely work from that place. And so the first place we want to go today, ladies and gentlemen, is Matthew 17. But I want you to go and get Mark 9 while we're in Matthew 17. So go to Matthew 17, but also have Mark chapter 9 ready. We're going here. Jesus has just come down off the Mount of Transfiguration. When he comes down off the Mount of Transfiguration, he's met in the valley with a situation that his disciples have been dealing with since he's been up there, and they're not able to handle it. And when we get here, we're in verse 14, Matthew chapter 17, verse 14, and it says, "And when they were come to the multitude, there came to him a certain man kneeling down to him and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is lunatic and sore vexed, for oft times he falleth into the fire and oft into the water. And I brought him to thy disciples, and they could not cure him." Now, we've looked at this passage before, but I want to go down into it a little deeper today so that you can understand some things to prepare you and in your life for those situations that will come up that seem seemingly impossible. And those situations whereby you have brought your issues to others and they have not been able to do anything about them. And so we're going to look at this account from that perspective. And he said, I brought him to thy disciples, they could not cure him. Now, this was important because this tells us also that they were trying to, that they were attempting to cure the boy. And the reason why they were attempting to cure the boy is because they had already seen the hand of the Lord work through them when they were sent out two by two into every city wherein they were sent. And when they went, they came back with the report that even demons are subject to us through your name. They came back with testimonies of healing, of deliverance. And so they went into this situation understanding like we can do this because we've done it. Okay. Then Jesus answered and said in verse 17, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me. Now, right here, how long shall I do it for you? He's basically saying, how long will it take for you to understand how to do this yourself? How long will this take? How long? Because you've got to understand there are some things that must take place in order for you to get here. Now, I sent you two by two. Based on that, you should have some authority. You should have some understanding of the authority rather than marveling at the fact that demons were subject. You now should be marveling at the fact that you did it without my help. And so, but that was not the case. Okay. And so it is really interesting. And now, before I get to the point of Jesus actually dealing with this devil, because this is a devil that is doing this to this boy. Everyone, this is Bishop Jackson. Listen, there are some exciting things happening with Faith Infusion. First, we've got a brand new store at faithinfusion2368.com. You can go there and get the bundle. You can go there and get the latest volume of Faith Infusion. You can get other material that there as well. But also, we are launching a 5-day challenge in October that you can sign up for it at faithinfusion2368.com. This 5-day challenge will help you in your faith walk. For the just shall live by faith. We walk by faith, not by sight. Well, have you ever needed somebody to help coach you through some of your faith journey? Have you ever had the issues in your life said, man, I really need to believe God here. I need to know how to get to that place. Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 5 days, 5 nights actually. We're going to go through the scripture together, but I'm going to give you instructions on how to get to your next step in God far as your faith concerned. Remember, Jesus said, when I return, will I find faith on the earth? Notice he didn't say, will I find people praying? Will I find people fasting? Will I find people giving? Will I find people in service? No, he said, will I find faith on the earth? And so we are the people that he's talking about when he returns. So we've got to be full of faith. You need to join 5-day challenge, Faith Infusion 2368.com. Click the training link, sign up right there, get your spot because they're going fast. So you need to get your spot and be a part of this awesome training. God bless you. I want you to enjoy the rest of the teaching, but I don't want you to miss out on this training. God bless you. Have a great one. Let's go to Mark 9. Remember I told you get Mark 9. Let's go to Mark 9. All right. In Mark 9, I want to read it from verse 14 again. And it says, and when he came to his disciples, he saw a great multitude about them and the scribes questioning them. And straightway all the people, when they beheld him, were greatly amazed and running to him, saluted him. And he answered the scribes, what question ye with them? And one of the multitude answered and said, Master, I have brought unto thee my son, which has a dumb spirit. Now, okay, this is the same account. This is the same account. So get this right. And wheresoever he taketh him, he teareth him, and he foameth and gnasheth with his teeth and pined away. And I spake to thy disciples that they should cast him out, and they could not. Now, this is interesting because now we get another look at this. Mark takes us in a little deeper. That this was not just some boy. This was not just some man. This was one of the scribes. This was one of the scribes. His son was in this situation. This was not just a random guy in the audience. This was not a father that was just bringing his son because he heard about Jesus. This was an attempt also to show that Jesus did not have his authority. Now, we can really miss this unless we read both accounts. But Jesus understands that. That's clear. So because the scribes are there questioning the disciples, basically probably asking them, why can't y'all do this? If your master have all this authority and power, why can't y'all also do what he did? Now we can see that they are trying to do this so that they can somewhat save face. They're doing this in a whole new mindset now, not just to heal the boy, but to look good in front of the scribes. You got to get that. Now, I don't know about you, but that's pretty interesting to me. So when I read it from that account, when I read it from Mark's account, I get a better look into this. Now, the other thing that's interesting too is that in Matthew, it says sometimes he's thrown into the fire, sometimes he's thrown into the water. But here Mark gives us far more of the situation, far more insight into the situation than Matthew does. He says in verse 18, and wheresoever he taketh him, the Spirit is taken him places. It teareth him, and he foameth, and he gnasheth at the teeth, and he pineth away, and I speak to thy disciples that they could cast him out, and they could not. So that the Father knows that he's dealing with a demon. Father knows this is not just some sickness. This is a demon. This is a spirit. Okay? And why is this? And he answered him and says, Jesus answered and said, O faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him unto me. Now, this is interesting because we're going further because that's where we stopped in Matthew. But watch this, ladies and gentlemen. Watch this. And they brought him unto him, and when he saw him, straightway the spirit teared him, and he fell on the ground and wallowed foaming. So now the spirit is showing off. The spirit is taking advantage of this boy again, and now in front of Jesus. So, ladies and gentlemen, see, this is amazing because right here we find out that there's more going on with this boy than we thought. What? He's being thrown into the fire. He's being thrown into the water. How do we know that? Well, it says that once Jesus asked him all these questions, Jesus began to ask the man the question, how long has it been going on? And because the boy is foaming at the mouth, wallowing on the ground, how long has it been going on? He said, of a child. And oft-time it had cast him into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if thou can do us anything. Again, this is the proof that they were coming to try to test Jesus, but Jesus wasn't there. And so then they started testing the disciples. And the disciples couldn't do anything. So now, if they couldn't do anything, maybe you can't either. Maybe this is too great for you. I've heard you've done a lot of stuff, but maybe you can't do anything about this. But if thou canst do anything, have compassion on us and help us. Now, look at what Jesus says. Jesus said unto him, if thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. Ladies and gentlemen, are you listening to this? Verse 23 is an amazing promise. The promise is to the man, but it goes beyond the man. If you can believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. That's our issue. That's our issue right there. Can we believe? Can we get to the place that we believe? And once we get to the place that we can believe, the thing becomes possible. We have to fight through the unbelief. Watch. Verse 24. And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears. Now, he's been touched in his heart. He's been touched in his heart by the Lord. Because Jesus said, if you can believe it, it can happen. He said, Lord, I believe. Help thou my what? Unbelief. Lord, I believe. Why do I believe? I brought the boy to you. Yes, I'm a scribe. Yes, we came absolutely to test you. But I believe you. I believe that you can do something. Help my unbelief. The unbelief is probably on the side of being a scribe, on the side of hearing the other scribes and Pharisees and Sadducees talk against Jesus. The Father says, I've heard about a lot of stuff you're doing. I believe, but I am carrying this unbelief with me because of all the other information I have. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. There is a lot of information that's in us that is causing us not to believe. There's a ton of information that we have that is hindering our belief. He says, help my unbelief. Help my unbelief. Now, I'm telling you, we've got to understand this because verse 23 is too important. Verse 23 is too powerful. If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. If that's the case, I can get anything I want, anything I need. Why? All I got to do is believe it. How do I get there? Because what happens is when I start trying to believe, there's all this other stuff that comes up. All this stuff. When Jesus saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the foul spirit, saying unto him, thou dumb and deaf spirit, I charge thee, come out of him. And he entered no more into him. And the spirit cried. So the boy is wallowing on the ground, foaming. So out of the boy, the spirit cries and rent him sore and came out of him. And he was as one dead, insomuch that many said, he's dead. So he wasn't moving at all. Now, I want you to think about something for a second. When you think about something for a second, the man has come. The man has said, I brought him to your disciples. They can do nothing. I don't know if you can do anything. Jesus said, but if you can believe, all things are possible. The man says, Lord, I believe. I believe in you. Help my unbelief. Help me where I don't believe. Then the man gets some hope because Jesus turns his attention from questioning the man to dealing with the spirit. He deals with the spirit. The spirit cries. The man, the father's not surprised by that because he's seen it before. The spirit rends the boy. The boy is wallowing all over the place. Okay, so that's not unusual either. The father's seen all of that. The spirit comes out of him. He doesn't even know that. And the boy looks like he's dead. The boy's dead. Now, all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think, what would you think if you were the daddy? Oh my goodness. I done brought my son to this man and he done killed my son. He's killed my son. This spirit done killed my son because of dealing with this man. And Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up and he arose. Now, listen, because why? If he even was dead, life grabbed him. Life took him by the hand. He had to get up. Life took him by the hand. So let's go back to Matthew chapter 17. Come on, real quick. Come on. Let's go to Matthew chapter 17. Let's go back there. And Jesus said in verse 17, remember, back up there, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him unto me. Jesus rebuked the devil. See, Matthew doesn't go through any of the conversation. that Jesus had with the Father. None of that. Jesus rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Matthew doesn't even deal with the fact that the boy screamed, that the boy was rented, the boy looked like he was dead. Matthew said, no, none of that's important. What's important is what happened. Then came the disciples to Jesus apart and said, why could we not cast him out? Now, this is the see, because Mark doesn't deal with this. Mark doesn't deal with this. And Jesus said unto them, see, because of your what? Unbelief. Remember, if you could believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. Remember that the Father says, I believe, help thou my unbelief. Here, Jesus deals with his own disciples and says, the reason why you couldn't do it is because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if you have faith as a grain of mustard seed. Now, he's not talking to the fathers. He's talking to the disciples. If you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, you shall say to this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible to you. Wow. Whoa. This is even greater than what he said to the Father. If you could believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. Wow. All things are possible. Here, Jesus says, if you have this grain of mustard seed size of faith, listen to this, nothing shall be impossible to you. He said, but howbeit this kind goes not out but by prayer and fasting. And for too long, many times we thought that he was referencing the lunatic boy and the dumb spirit, that kind goes not out by prayer and fasting. Now go back to Mark real quick before we finish this. Go back to Mark 9. Go back to Mark 9. Let's finish that. So Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up in verse 27, and he rose. And when he was come into the house, Matthew doesn't tell you this either. His disciples asked him privately, why could we not cast him out? So this was not out there in the midst of everybody. So Jesus is giving them some private tutelage. Okay? And he said unto them, this kind come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. Okay? Now, what kind? What kind? Matthew tells us. Matthew 17 tells us, because Jesus said, where Mark doesn't tell us, but that's why you got to put the stories together. Okay? Because of your unbelief. Verily I say unto you, if you had faith as a grain of mustard seed, you shall say unto this mountain, be removed to yonder place, and it shall be removed, and nothing shall be impossible to you. What kind goes out not by but prayer and fasting? Your unbelief. Ladies and gentlemen, it is your unbelief that's causing you not to get there. Now, if you really understood the fact that prayer and fasting would remove unbelief, not only you, myself as well, we would be some really skinny people. If we were really dealing with our unbelief that's in us, we would not be looking like we're looking. We would be praying prayers that are specific to faith. We would be ingesting into our lives faith. Matter of fact, James said that it is engrafted, that you have the engrafted word is able to save your soul. We'll be engrafting faith, which is the reason why I wrote the books. The reason why I wrote this particular book right here and the other two, okay, we'll talk about. The reason why I wrote the books is so that you could engraft faith. People think, oh, it's just a good read. It's just a devotional book. No, you're engrafting faith. Then in line with putting this into your life, you have to fast. Okay? That means you got to put the plate aside. Ladies and gentlemen, not only the plate, you not only have to put the plate aside, you got to put a whole lot of other things aside. The television got to put it aside. Fun and games, got to put it aside. Come on, some friends and telephone talk, you got to put it aside. Why? Because you're trying to engraft into your life something that you got to focus on. And for most people, they haven't spent enough time in the engrafting room. of putting faith in their life. And along with doing that, fasting it through. Haven't done it. Haven't done it. Why? Because we think that we can just say something out of our mouth, and you can, but what you have to say out of your mouth is what's in your heart. So most of us are like the man. We got faith. We got faith. Everybody have faith. Everybody have faith. You got the mustard seed side of faith. Every one of us have faith. There's not a one of us that don't have faith. How do I know? You sit in chairs that you did not create. You didn't fashion that chair, and you sit in it as though it's gonna hold you. You will get on an airplane, many of you anyway. You get on an airplane not knowing if the people can fly or not. That's faith. That's faith. You didn't see them train. You don't know at what level they are a pilot. You don't know how good they are. Do you know there are degrees in piloting? Yeah, there. Come on, everybody's not that good. Man, I've been on planes where the guy land the plane. It's so smooth. Man, he come in. It's so smooth. It hit. You don't even know you hardly on the ground, man, because it's so smooth. I've been on planes where that plane came down and hit so hard. I'm like, oh, what did you do? And how did you take your classes? You hit so hard. Different pilots, different levels of competency. But I was on the plane, trusting and believing that the person that was flying the plane could handle it. We got a whole lot of places in our lives where we believe that God has already moved in our life, and we have faith for it. We got places in our life where we don't believe that God has moved at all, and we don't have any faith for it. We're just like the man. Help my unbelief. Jesus said the way you're going to help your unbelief, you're going to pray. You're going to pray the scripture into you. You're going to pray to God, increase your faith life. You're going to pray before you ever get to the place. And you're going to fast. You're going to remove yourself out of the way. You're going to remove yourself out of the way so that you can get to God without any hindrances. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this helped you. We both understand that we're carrying faith and unbelief at the same time. That's why I'm doing our shorts. Our shorts are developing faith, destroying fear. Okay? Because fear is one of the main factors that will keep us from functioning in faith. And where did it come from? Stuff that we've heard, stuff that we've seen, stuff that people told us. I'm telling you, we're not going to be that way any longer. Glory to God. You're going to take some time, get with God, engrafting your life. I would recommend, if you don't already have them, get the Faith Infusion books, read over them, and as you're reading them, pray over the scriptures while you're fasting. You need to be fasting. You need to give yourself to God. Remove the plate. Come on, remove the plate and increase in God. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this really helped you. God bless you. Thank you so very much for being with me.